Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and this time we're joined by Tom Arnold to discuss all the latest news for Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS from this past week. So let's get right into it. Well, Tom, this week was actually not that eventful for Smash Bros. News, except for one big thing, being the, more details about the Mario Arena, which I already covered.
Yeah.
But we're going to start things off here with Monday's screenshot, despite the fact that there's not much new here. So yeah, this is the first time we've seen the Smash Ball in action. You know, we'd seen a couple of the Final Smashes before, but this is the first time, besides being on the poster, this is the first time we've actually seen it in-game. So it looks like the Smash Ball from Brawl. Like, it doesn't look that much different. It looks like it might glow a little bit more. That's about it. So, I guess, what are your thoughts on having the Smash Ball be back? I mean, even though we knew it would be back, we haven't really talked about it much.
I think the Smash Brother added a fun sort of zany element to the previous Brawl. I mean, I love the Smash Ball going around, the sound effects and stuff. So it's great to, have it back. What were your thoughts on the Smash Ball and Brawl?
So I kind of went back and forth on it. Like, I liked, I thought the Final Smashes were kind of, they were cool looking. Yeah. I thought they were pretty unbalanced.
So many of them, yeah. Like, hit and miss. Like, some of them were given you'd hit everybody. Others, it seemed like you'd have to practice on them time and time again to actually be able to use them. Yeah, no, that's totally the case. Yeah, some of them were really tricky to use. Like, well, some of them didn't even require skill at all. Like, take King Diddy's, for example, where he just sits there and, does his little song and dance for like 30 seconds, which is hilarious. Like, it's actually one of my favorites. But there's no skill involved in that one at all. Others like Fox's, where he turns into a giant landmaster. Like, that one's, it actually does require input from the player, but it's almost too easy to use. Like, you can just fly off screen and take all the players with you at once. Yeah, those ones are a bit more fun, where you'll get some players and you have some control over it, but at the same time, it's not frustrating to use.
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm just sticking around in Brawl, which is a lot of the time, like just purely having fun and not caring really at all about taking it seriously, then they were cool. But
you don't take games seriously.
But when I actually was feeling competitive, we would turn it off usually. I would say most of the time we actually had the Smash Ball turned off. So my big thing is I hope that they actually do go back and kind of rebalance, or at least redo those Final Smashes, just so that they, are maybe on more equal ground and are maybe more interactive. As I mentioned, I'd like to have them all require some input from the player instead of just having it be like a cutscene, basically.
My most memorable one was probably Snakes in Smash Bros. Brawl, but I guess I won't have to worry about that being around again.
Yeah, as far as we can tell, Snake's not back, and it sounds like he probably won't be.
What do you mean you're not supporting a PlayStation character? I don't understand.
But Snake's was awesome. His was really cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe take his and apply to another character, in some new way, Well,
Star Fox, have him call up Rob, and maybe you can target with Rod from the ship, basically.
Yeah, and I think that would make way more sense than the Landmaster one, which wasn't even proportional to Fox. Like, in the games, Landmaster wasn't that much bigger than Star Fox. Yeah. In these games, it was like the Great Fox sized. It's like, what the hell? How's that even fit in the Great Fox? Now, there is one thing Sakurai says here that's kind of interesting, and that is, if you introduced every one of the Final Smashes, it would take over a month to cover them all.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people, tweeted at me saying, maybe that's a hint at how many characters there are in the game. And maybe, but the thing is, if he posts one for every weekday, I believe there are 21 days in this month, or 21 weekdays in this month. So that's 21 potential characters, and we already know about 24. So He reveals nothing in this. And in fact, he may have just been talking about the characters he's announced so far, which would make perfect sense. But for the fun of it, let's assume he was talking about the entire roster. The fact that he says over a month's worth could mean that there's less than 2 months worth, because you would think he would round to the nearest month, depending on how many characters there are. So assuming that's the case, that would mean that there would be 42 or 43 characters at max. So, again, I'm probably looking way too deep into that, but that would be an interesting way of taking it. Moving on to Tuesday's screenshot, or should I say screenshots, Sakurai actually revealed, I think, a record-breaking 4 pictures at once showing off more of the Super Mario 3D Land stage. Now, I've already talked a ton about this, so I think we'll just go over this real quickly, because I already did a discussion with myself about it. So, but let's get your thoughts, Tom. What do you think about this level from what you've seen, you know, and heard from Sakurai?
The scrolling levels do add a great sort of dynamic to Smash Bros. I mean, you won't want to be fighting on them in sort of really serious matches, but I like how it looks. You know, I know those spikes were kind of announced before, but just having those near the end of the level where they can just suddenly come in and knock you out of the stage, I think that'll make for some really frantic action.
Well, especially because it can like destroy the platforms too. You know, which is gonna force it's gonna force you like to keep moving around and finding new ground.
Yeah, and I like how there are platforms in parts of it, but then in other parts you're on the ground and jumping from sort of different mountainside here to a floating block. So that's a nice mixture of different elements of Mario in a level.
So yeah, it's really unique, and I don't think it's something we've quite seen before, especially with how it alternates throughout the course. Okay, well, moving on to Wednesday's screenshot, which might just be the most unremarkable one of the week, where we just see a passed-out Rosalina, and then Sakurai comments on how calm and nonchalant she seems, even when she takes damage. So, not much to take away from here.
It's a yawner.
It really is. But we do see a couple of new characters, I think, for the first time in the background of this stage, in the Animal Crossing stage. Being Mabel from the Able Sisters, and then a Nookling from Nookling Junction, I think it was called.
I'm not the one who ran a daily Animal Crossing.
People are still asking for that to come back, by the way.
When's it coming back? I want to ruin one again.
Oh, I should bring it back just so you can ruin it. But getting back to those two characters real quick, there's a couple of interesting things about them. For one, because we haven't seen them before, this does mean that the spectators watching the match will change, you know, whenever you play the arena. Just like in the original Brawl version of the Animal Crossing stage. And beyond that, again, looking way too deep into this because there's nothing else to talk about, and that is the fact that this is a Nookling here and not Tom Nook. Now, one of the things about in the first trailer that was interesting was Tom Nook was the one who we see in the opening of the trailer, and he looks at the letter after the villager drops it. So some people took as a hint, I think even we talked about it, as what if he's joining the fight too? And it's not him here, it's a Nookling, so maybe.
Tom Nook confirmed.
Well, yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe he's actually going to be a character in the game. I don't think so, because the villager kind of covers everything Nookling, or covers everything Tom Nook could do, but you never know.
We can only guess if Tom Nook was a character he'd mount on massive amounts of debt to other people's, like the US economy or something.
I mean, they could actually do some kind of comical things with him, I think, like...
Make him, like, give you a pickaxe, something you have to dig for him for a while, or you have to fight the other guys for him to pay back your debt.
Right? Or like he can throw like just bags of money at you, because he's got so much money now, it doesn't matter what he does with it.
Yeah.
Like they could, I mean, it actually would be like a completely blank slate character. It'd be kind of like Captain Falcon, where they just gave him a Falcon Punch for no reason. It turned into one of the most iconic Smash moves ever made. I could see them really coming up with some creative things with Tom Nook. Which I think would be pretty interesting. Again, I don't think they will, but it would be kind of cool. Especially because Animal Crossing is such a huge franchise. It could be justified having two characters.
Yep, true that.
Okay, moving on to Thursday's screenshot. Again, not too much new here, at least in the screenshot itself. We just see Diddy, using his peanut gun at full charge, where it explodes. And then we can see Bowser getting hit too. Okay. So in the original game in Brawl, when you overcharge the peanut gun, because the whole point was to charge up as much as possible to get a powerful shot without overcharging it. Because if you did, it would explode like it does here, stunning Diddy for a few seconds. But it looks like it's being changed this time, at least going off what Sakurai says. Because now it seems like when you overcharge it, it will actually become a powerful attack when it explodes. Now, it appears that it's still going to stun Diddy. Especially because when we go off what Sakurai says here, he mentions that you should give it a shot when you break someone's shield. And that to me suggests that it's still going to stun you, so it makes sense to do when your opponent's also stunned. So this is kind of an interesting change, because before you didn't ever want to overcharge it, because it just left you a singing duck. You didn't fire a shot, and you were just sitting there doing nothing, like just twiddling your peanut gun. But so this actually does change Diddy's abilities a little bit. I think that's cool, seeing that they're actually making this move even more useful. I never really used it that much originally. If I was going to spend time to use a projectile of his, I would just whip out bananas and just chuck them everywhere.
More amusing, at least.
Now, before we move on to the final screenshot, Tom actually had to leave before we could finish the discussion because the final screenshot didn't go up until 2 a.m. So unfortunately, we had to bid Tom farewell in the only way I know how.
Loser drops out. Continue?
Of course I want to continue, Smash Announcer. So the final screenshot, or should I say screenshots of the day, showcases a new trophy, being Phosphora from Kid Icarus Uprising. I have no idea if I said that right. It's 2 a.m. I don't care. So there's really not much here to talk about. We already knew trophies are returning, and I think this is the third one we've seen. It is good to see Kid Icarus Uprising getting more love. Now, although Sakurai does say she's a trophy, it doesn't mean she doesn't appear in the game in any other capacity. Now, it might hint that she doesn't, but that doesn't mean for sure she won't. So, you know, she could still appear as like a stage hazard or something in the Kid Icarus Uprising arena. And if that's the case, you know, she'd probably do lightning attacks like she did in the game. So yeah, that aside, there's really not much else to discuss here. You know, she is, you know, there is a lot of detail put into her. In fact, Sakurai himself points out the detail on her scarf, and it is a very nice looking scarf. I'm not going to argue that. So yeah, I think that wraps up our weekly discussion. So I guess Tom didn't miss out on too much here. So thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date with everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS and other things gaming as well. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.